The other surprising situation is Bill Belichick. And at first, when I heard that he interviewed at North Carolina, I thought he was doing a favor for North Carolina. Like, here, let me come in, and Mac Brown just got fired, so I'll come in and I'll assess your team. I'll talk to you about the job. So people are going to go, wow, Belichick, North Carolina. And I don't know if it maybe started where you bring him in and say, hey, give us your thoughts on this program. And maybe he came in and goes, hey, you know what? You're in the ACC. You can win the ACC. You're going to need NIL money. How are you in the transfer portal? You got the Jordan brand there. There's a lot of great things. You got beautiful uniforms. And you've always been a sleeping giant. Okay. And then all of a sudden, it's like you have a second interview. And then that's when it got my attention. It's like, okay, a second interview. Here is Bill Belichick on the Pat McAfee Show talking about his talks with Carolina.
I've had a chance this year to take a longer look at college football during the college season as opposed to in the spring from the draft perspective. And that's been interesting, as well as staying up with pro football. So it's been a good year for me. I've learned a lot. And so, I've had an opportunity to talk to Chancellor Roberts, and, we've had a couple of good conversations. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, the one thing I keep coming back to is how important is Don Shula's coaching record? The most wins. I think he's 15 away from surpassing Don Shula on the all-time victory list. Belichick, obviously a student of the game, the history of the game, to be the all-time winner in NFL history. He was on with Jim Gray, the Get Up, or Let's Go podcast, I believe. You have Get Up on here, Marvin.
Sorry, I was enthralled in Get Up. Forgive me.
You got to stop with your Mike Greenberg infatuation. It's Let's Go podcast. Here's Jim Gray with the question.
I think it's widely assumed that you'd like to win another Super Bowl. And I think it's widely assumed that you'd like to break Don Shula's record. Is that, and are those two things in the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, Jim, I don't have any set goals. I'm open to different opportunities going forward, and I'll just evaluate them as they come.
Okay.
That was a press conference, Bill Belichick.
Yes,
we haven't heard him in a while.
I know. We
haven't heard from him in a while.
But they're paying him just like all the other shows are paying him. McAfee's paying more, so you get more, I think, out of that. It's like, all right, how much you paying me? A couple $100,000 for the Let's Go podcast. McAfee's paying me $1 million. I'll give him a little bit more of an answer. This told me one thing. Maybe the NFL doesn't want Bill Belichick. Maybe he realizes there's not as many opportunities there. Do you want to, if you're a GM or you're a team president or an owner, to turn things over to Bill Belichick? How long is he in, for the ride here? And it feels like, and there's been reports that Bill could take a college job and bring his son, who is a defensive coordinator, I think, for the Washington Commanders. And if I'm North Carolina, okay, you do your due diligence. You have to bring in candidates, and you have to go through the process. But if I can get Bill Belichick for 3 years, and hopefully his son is capable of being a head coach, I know you're going to have to deal with nepotism here. But if I'm Carolina, I'll deal with that. Let's bring him in. Let's bring in Bill. But I don't know if the NFL wants Bill Belichick. And I thought he's not going to coach again. Well, I didn't think he'd coach in college unless it was going to be a defensive coordinator for Navy, or he was going to coach lacrosse or something like that. I didn't think he'd coach in the NFL again. But here he is, 2 interviews with Carolina, and all of a sudden, this becomes a real story. And at first I thought, man, he's got to be bored. Like, he's got a lot of jobs, and he's making good money here. But a coach coaches. And Belichick, you feel like he's going to coach until he dies. Just like Joe Paterno, going to coach until he dies. And there are a few of those that's what they do. That's who they are. That's their identity. They don't want to do anything else. And I think Belichick is probably truly listening to Carolina. If I'm Carolina, I get all these interviews done here, and then we can give him the job. Michael Jordan comes to the press conference. You got the jump man, Jordan Brand there. And now all of a sudden you get started. You get started now, right away. But I think this might be a signal the NFL is going, I don't know. You're going to bring him in to run the Bears? You're bringing your GM back. Does Bill just want to be a coach? You're bringing him to run the Cowboys? He's still got Jerry Jones there. Jacksonville? Do you want to take over Jacksonville? Do you think Jacksonville is kind of like what Tampa was to Tom Brady? Those guys are ready. All they need is the right guy. Well, you got to decide if Trevor Lawrence is the right guy, and then you go in, you'll be able to run that organization. I don't know if the NFL wants Bill. And I know you got to factor in age because I have to factor in longevity. Like, how long is he going to be there? Can we turn this around? Can we do something in 3 years? And that would be the window that I would probably have with Bill. And then if he's going to go to college, does he turn it over to his son? His son become, does he lay the groundwork to say, I'm going to do this. I want my son here as my defensive coordinator. He will take over for me after 3 years. I could see that scenario.